Welcome to the beautiful city of Athens, the gateway to the Tennessee Valley, a city rooted in deep community relationships and built on a rich tradition of small local business and the very best of the human spirit. As Athens embraces the future, the signs of progress are in full bloom. Join us as we discover the bright spots in this charming southern city that we call home. This is Hometown Heartbeat, Athens. What's going on, everybody? Whoop, whoop. Zach Walker here, Hometown Heartbeat, day number 20-something. 9? Connor, what is it, 29?
Today's 30.
Oh, 30. I'm not quite 30. I'm kidding. I'm older than that. But, Connor, how are you today, buddy?
Doing good. Next to last day of April.
Next to last day. Why are you counting that down, Connor? I'm confused. Is there something special happening on the first? Oh, we're excited to get Connor back in the studio is what it is. We're trying to get him back. We're trying to get our best player back on the field. You know what I'm saying? So today we have a very special guest. I was on his show not too long ago, and today he's repaying me the favor of joining our show. So let me introduce to you Noell Bishop of Bishop 30 Solutions. Noell, how are you, buddy?
Good, Zach. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, yeah, excited to have you. I almost forgot to turn your audio up there, and that would have been, people would have been like, well, he can't hear him. So Noell is obviously a Bishop 30, I say obviously, it might not be so obvious. Bishop 30 Solutions is a firearms training, safety, I mean, you kind of name it, defense-minded kind of a consulting group, and his background is law enforcement and fill in the blank. Tell us a little bit about Bishop 30 Solutions as well as what kind of your background and what led you to that.
Well, so my background is I'm a retired DEA agent, 20 years, and then I also retired from the Army. And my background is I started out as a tanker, then got into Special Forces where I was a Green Beret. About half of half of it active duty, the rest was Guard and Reserves. It's being a DEA agent is pretty demanding, so the Guard and Reserves was the best deal. The reason I started Bishop 30 Solutions, let me back up. So at Bishop 30 Solutions, we are the primary firearm instructors at Bullet and Barrel here in Huntsville. And we also, the other part of the business is we are also very heavy into business and church active shooter planning and training. We actually, whether it's a business or a church team, we train armed teams. Yes, businesses are doing that now. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell. And one of the reasons I started this was when I was a DEA agent, I was stationed in Houston. And in 2005, everybody knows about Hurricane Katrina. I was sent over to New Orleans the day after, me and a couple of guys from the Houston division to help. And all we were going to do was go over there, take some MREs, some water, and some chainsaws, and help the agents there get their, get the tree off the roof, so forth and so on. Give them some MREs. It was a support mission. Well, Lord and behold, we got this call, and we had to rally at a high school at their football field. And we have an air wing. We had all the helicopters we could muster, and we actually got on the helicopters because we got a call that downtown there were task force agents running out of ammunition because they were in a firefight. So we actually got inserted downtown in New Orleans, and we were the first federal law enforcement presence there. We broke into our field division and then continued on downtown. That I saw then what happens when you have good people that are untrained and they commingle with bad people that are ruthless. I mean, the bad people lose every single time, and it broke my heart. It really did. So
the good people,
I knew then back in 2005, this is kind of what I wanted to do.
to be clear, the good people lose every single time to the bad people that are ruthless, and that's
exactly right. Did I say it wrong?
You said it backwards, but
Okay.
I understood what you were saying, and I just wanted to make sure that nobody else heard that incorrectly. And so, no, you're exactly right, and you're talking about churches and businesses that are training armed people, and I mean, it's as a part of a church, certainly. I lead worship on some Sunday mornings with a Glock 19 strapped to the back of my belt there, because you just never know. Honestly, a church is probably one of the softest targets in a lot of cases. We've seen even this year it happen, and so it's wise that they are starting to be trained, and being trained by someone who knows what they're doing is obviously so key. And so, the purpose of this show, this Hometown Heartbeat that we've kind of started up during the quarantine, is to really kind of go around and highlight the human interest stories, the business stories, the entrepreneurship. I mean, you know me from my branding and marketing days and all of that, and so certainly still doing that with our business. But really, this is about highlighting our local businesses and stories that we find interesting, that we find important, that we find whatever. And I wanted to say that when you started your live streaming, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, as a byproduct of this coronavirus lockdown. Am I correct?
No, yeah, absolutely did. Yeah.
And man, you have just absolutely killed it. I mean, every day you've committed to it. You've stuck with it. You've had some incredible content. You've been featured on the news. I mean, I'm talking about it. Just speak to that a minute. Speak to that, because I remember when I interviewed with you on your show a few weeks ago. I mean, we used the same software system, and I'm like, hey, no, if you'll click this button and this button and this button, and so just talk to that a little bit, because you've had to go into the master class and really quickly learn how to do all this at a high level, and you've gotten quite good at it. And so I'm sure a lot of people out there are kind of watching, saying, what's the secret to all this?
Well, my secret. Actually, my wife she is into this stuff. And so she's my producer now, and we've got it where, we're actually showing videos at times, and she can just click and I can just stand up here and do my thing. I'm just a knuckle driver that gets up here and talks, and she's the brains behind the thing. But we've come a long way. A lot of credit to her, Kelly. But we started it because when this thing started, I started the live streams because when this thing started, I was down at Bullet and Barrel, and I was still teaching some classes until the actual Alabama order started that I couldn't teach anymore. And people were buying guns, and they were like, I don't know what to do with it. And so I like, well, let's do something. And it's helped, because it's gotten me a lot more likes, a lot more people out there from all over the country know about my business now.
No, so they do, and that's a good thing, because your business is so pertinent to what we all do. And so one of the things we wanted to talk about while you're here is I was one of those people that when this whole thing started, everybody else was looking for toilet paper and hand sanitizer, and I bought ammo and weaponry. And so if you watched what you were a part of, and I didn't know that story about you and Hurricane Katrina. It's an incredible story. I'm sure it wasn't very incredible to live it, but certainly being one of the first federal law enforcement agents on the ground, there was probably one of the most eye-opening experiences of your life, if I had to guess. And seeing the destitution and the poorness and the ruthlessness, I think, is a great word that you used, of the criminal element. In a lot of ways, it surprises people. People are they don't understand what the bad guys are willing to go through or go to. And that creates the fear and the danger for us. And so, talk about the new safer at home order. We talked about yesterday. I don't know if you saw. Let me reiterate part of yesterday's show for you, Noel. So I'm going to go ahead and break down the entire press conference for you. Okay, you ready? Womp 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 womp. It's a joke, and
we're looking for the big line.
That's right. No, I mean, give me a plan, okay? Just give me a plan, and take off your Austin Power shirt. Wear something a little more appropriate than the shagadelic little white thing you had on there. So no, but tell us about the safer at home order. You're going to be opening back up. We're going to start teaching some classes again. I heard you on the radio right before we went live here. But talk about what your plans are opening back up and kind of what it looks like for you moving forward.
So we got one class, the basic class. It's a handgun 101 class that we're in close proximity of the students. It's the only class that we actually shoot at the benches. And I am standing in the stall there with the student.
Well, because it's a 101, right? I mean, it's a basics. You're showing them how to
one-on-one. Yeah. And so that one we're going to forego until we get the clearance to do it. But that's the only class that we actually shoot from the benches. And all the other classes, we go in front of the benches and we're moving. And I can get that 6-foot distance and I can get what I need. So those classes we're going to go ahead and do. So that would be the concealed carry series, the conceal or the advanced pistol 1 and 2, carbine, tactical carbine 1 and 2. So anything we're shooting except for that one, we're going with.
We need to. I had an idea when I was listening to you talk on the radio. I need to come take your tactical carbine class. We need to document it, and then we need to create a video package out of that for you to use for marketing, and for me to use as a testimony. I just think it'd be cool to document that and to just kind of show people kind of the inside of your class. I'd be a halfway decent student. I was in the military, and obviously
I'm sure you would.
Feel pretty confident with my tactical carbine-ness, if you will. So tell me about the news story I saw. I saw you were on the news the other day. You're like a celebrity. I actually had to talk to Noel's agent before he was able to come on with me today. No, I'm kidding, but I mean that was pretty neat to see local business like that being. I think it was just the innovation of what you were doing. You were teaching tactical and safety and gun safety and that type of thing on a live stream to a bunch of strangers.
So, you mean how did I start it? Or,
well, no, like how did the news contact you and say, "Man, we've been watching your thing," or like, I mean, tell me how that kind of went down because it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
When the news picked up the story.
Actually, she actually watched it, and she's been watching it most days.
That's
and
awesome.
She just thought that it was very interesting. Because the reason I was doing it was because she knew that a lot of people were actually buying guns, and I explained to her they didn't know what to do, and so she thought it was interesting that I was actually doing that to help people. And that's what it was. I mean, just trying to help people. But yeah, she made a story out of it, so I'm good with that.
Oh, absolutely. No, all press is good press. So that's Jerry Jones's mantra. That's how he built a team, a subpar, mediocre 4-4, 8-8 team every year. But no, so let's talk through that a minute because I'm curious about the kind of some of the politics behind that. I mean, I know we don't talk a ton about politics on here because we both run businesses and we don't want to alienate folks. But I think your views and my views are pretty well documented over the course of our live streams. And so, have you gotten any kickback from people that say, any of the anti-gun folks or any of the COVID-19 is going to kill everybody folks or any of the folks that would seek to maybe not enjoy your type of content?
It's funny because when we started this, the firearms portion, I'm like, people are going to just kick back on this, and they're going to, I'm going to get pushback. I have not gotten any.
That's amazing.
I mean, once in a while, you may get a weird post on Facebook, or not a post, but a comment on Facebook, but nothing really. I mean, we're in Alabama. I think in Alabama, you have to have a gun to be in the state and to register to vote. But I really haven't. All that I've got so far is positive.
That's good. So, well, that's good, anyway, and it's important.
I can't believe it either.
Well, no, and it's important. I mean, look, we live in a very different age. We live in an age of. I mean, it's just things are so different right now than anything I ever imagined. Yesterday we were talking about. There was an article I was reading, and it said something to the tune of churches and houses of worship are ordered to remain closed. And it's just like, that's a statement I never thought I would hear in my lifetime. And so, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's dive into the coronavirus side of this. And really, I mean, I think my stance on this is pretty well documented in terms of where I'm at. I believe that this is where it's important to understand. We were never the measures that were undertaken by our government were never meant to stop this virus from spreading. They were meant to not overwhelm the hospital system. That's what the very genesis of all of this shelter at home was. It was not to stop the spread of the virus, but rather to make sure the hospital systems were not overwhelmed. As data comes out, and we're starting to see it's the same illustration I use every time. The tornado was in my neighborhood, but it didn't hit my house. That should be a good thing. We should be excited. Woo! The tornado did not hit my house. And instead, it feels like the attitude of the politicians, the legislators, the government is we've got to justify our actions with a lack of science. And I'm generally struggling with it because it's shutting down good businesses all over the country. And Noel, it seems like you're going to be okay. Our business is going to be okay. Super thankful for that. But there are 46% of small businesses that are not going to be okay. And,
right.
and what recourse do they have for politicians' overreactions?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, we live in a time where if something happens, well, you know what the phrase is: never let a good
tragedy go to waste.
Yeah,
Saul
never let
Alinsky.
it go to waste. And so they have to show that they're doing something. And I get it. I get it's their job to keep us safe. But I mean, what I'm disappointed in is that there are places that were using the statistics. Like, for instance, if someone got ran over by a truck and they had corona, all right, they died of corona.
Fact.
You know what I'm saying? That's criminal.
Well, and I saw an article. Look, I'm not a huge Tucker Carlson fan. I think he's a blubbering idiot on a lot of things. But all that being said, last night he had a monologue in which he used the two doctors from California. I don't know if you've seen that clip, but it's a really good clip. That clip, after 5 million views, was removed from YouTube and Google, the parent company of YouTube. The CEO is now on record saying that is, quote, harmful misinformation. Yep. And all harmful misinformation will, from this point forward, be removed from YouTube.
Right.
So what does that mean for us? It means if I'm a dissenter at all, then the totalitarian regime that manages Google and YouTube will remove my information because they disapprove of my politics?
No, you're right. I mean, we have this engine called the media that is one-sided, and they put out what they want you to hear. And that's part of the problem right now. And the people that don't have the ability to see two sides are seeing that one side because it's on the internet, so it's got to be right?
No, that's exactly right. Bonjour, as that one commercial said from a few years back. My dad used to make fun of it all the time. It was a joke about online dating and this attractive lady. Like, there's a man that spoke French and loves art and loves long walks and it's like this goofy looking dude, and he just walks up and says Bonjour, like he knew how to speak French. And it's that time, that tale as old as time with the internet. I mean, whatever you read must be accurate. And I worry for a generation of people, my son included, my son's 4, who are going to grow up in an environment where the media where journalism is officially dead. It no longer exists in any capacity, where the media is a propaganda machine for one side or the other, and that's both sides, by the way. I see you right now about to write me an angry email. I'm not going to answer it, okay? It's both sides of the aisle, but like, we're growing up, we're raising kids in a world where their opinion doesn't matter unless it's the right opinion, where climate change is a fact, where you fill in the blank. Yeah. And none of this stuff. Science used to be the principles upon which the opposition or the left or whatever would build their argument on. And now science becomes only necessary if it supports an agenda. Right.
Well, let's face it. The country's kind of split right now. And they've got the media on their side.
Well, here's what's crazy about that, Noel. Like, the only reason the government's divided is because they've convinced you to divide. This is what me and Molly were talking about the other day, one of my co-hosts. It was like the terrifying part. You know why the government seeks to divide us? It's because they know for a fact, if people like you and I, Noel, and people like the millennial that may lean a little bit more idealistic or may lean a little bit, if we were ever able to come together in a common seeking of truth and betterment and whatever, we would destroy the two-party system as we know it, because it's a broken system. Yep. And so they seek to divide. They seek to keep us at odds with one another, because it's easier to run your agenda through when it's not okay to disagree with someone. You must hate them if you disagree with them. It's really easy to be divided. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand it.
And I'll be honest with you. We've got people in our government that have been there when I was running for president for like 48 years in our government. That was not what this country was supposed to be. You know, you take Donald Trump. You like him or you hate him, all right? Don't care. But, and he's not perfect, but he is what this country was supposed to be. He was a citizen, not in the politics, okay? And then he came in elected as a citizen, not a politician. And that's what we need more of. We need more people that are like you and I, that are out working, doing things, that actually know what it's like, not going back and forth to Washington in your plane all the time. And I think that they completely lose touch with what's going on. They get power hungry. You know, you can say the argument for term limits, you can say it's pro or you say it's bad. Meaning, let's say I've got someone in there, it's a congressman that I want in there and I want to continue to vote for. Well, that's my right to do that. But at the same time, maybe he's a little bit too ingrained in the system. So is that making sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. And that's the whole, I mean, that again, we could get talking, and you and I are obviously politically very much, very similar. I find myself being more on the libertarian side of Republican probably than most people, because the government is not meant. I mean, right now, Mo Brooks had a great quote yesterday. It was one of the government is not meant to pick winners and losers. And right now they're dictating wins and losses. And that's just not that's not what the government was built for. And so, you know, the civil liberties that are being restricted, taken, stolen, looted, would be one phrase that I've heard it referred to a bunch over the last 30 plus days. I'm not sure that we'll ever see them back. And that's terrifying.
I mean, so in a good example of that, I think, look at the Second Amendment. I mean, I talked about the Second Amendment on my show today. You know, the right of the people to bear arms shall not be infringed. And now, how many laws do we have that it's the length of the barrel? Oh, it's a quarter inch short, so you're going to jail. Who really cares? So, I mean, you're not going to get those back.
No,
and that's what's frustrating.
I mean, Noel, you're just a couple years older than I am, but tell me when in your lifetime, because I've never seen it in mine, but in your lifetime, when has a government ever grabbed power and then turned around and voluntarily given it back?
It doesn't happen.
That's right. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
Why? Because it doesn't matter. Here's what people don't understand about politics. And I'm sorry if I'm going to throw rocks at your glass house right now, but it's the truth. The politicians don't care about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about what you think. They don't care about what you believe. You know why? Because you won't get out and exercise your vote well enough to take their job away from them. And so what they end up enslaved to is money and power. And that's what drives the political machine. I've always tried to tell people about the golden rule. No, you know the golden rule, right? The man with the gold, he makes the rules.
That's right.
And that's the only rule that matters in politics. And until people start to understand that, again, and for those of you that are out there right now watching Noel and I and saying these guys are a bunch of right-wing nuts, fine, whatever. But the reality is, like, I have been politically involved long enough. Noel's been alive long. I mean, we've both seen both sides of this. I'll be honest with you. I thought Trump was a lunatic, and I'm still not sure most days. I mean, if he doesn't start World War III on World War IV on Twitter, I'll be amazed when this is all said and done. But Joe Biden?
Yeah, I know.
Like, huh? And so, you know, it's one of those things where if you talk about politics too much on your Facebook show, Noel, they'll ban it. In case you were curious, I interviewed Tommy Tuberville on here back when we first started, and they never let me put that up for some reason.
Really?
It's in the archive, but I tried to boost no dice. So
that's not right.
It's unbelievable. I mean, there was an interview with Mark Zuckerberg, it kind of in the same vein of the one with the Google lady, and it was, whew. I'm talking about that dude. That dude built his multi-billion-dollar fortune on stealing people's information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then wants to restrict the information those very people have access to.
Well, and I'll throw this out there. Let's talk about the First Amendment.
Careful.
So the freedom of the press.
Yeah.
When did they stop being the press?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, that's a good one.
When did they stop that?
When did they start being would I consider North Korea's press the press? No, they are a propaganda machine of a specific. I think press should be defined by non-biased.
I agree. I mean, you can have an opinion, but I mean, when it's all just one-sided on every, if you have a channel that's all one-sided, is that the press, or is that just people just saying their opinion?
Oh, and I don't even have a problem with the press having an opinion as long as it's declared on this show all the time. Molly gives me crap about it nonstop because she's like, you don't say anything that you can't substantiate. That's reckless. And I'm like, you know what? That's fair. I need that accountability. So I make sure, and I'm very clear, when I'm sharing an opinion, I say, this is an opinion. It's my opinion. I don't share it with anybody but me. And so I can't substantiate this. This is not a fact. This is just what I believe. And I've got no problem with that. The problem I have, and where I would define press, would be when you pass off opinion as fact, you are no longer the press. You are officially a tabloid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no difference.
And if you say something that's not correct, I think that you have an obligation to correct it.
Kelly Hudson Lindsay has a comment. She says they are TV personalities, not journalists. And Kelly, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm not talking about the opinion folks on again. You're talking about Tucker Carlson. You're talking about Rush Limbaugh. You're talking about those types of people that are those are opinionated personalities, and that's not who I think. No, I mean, Noel, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not who I'm discussing right now. I'm discussing those who would call themselves investigative journalists or journalists of any kind, because I think there's a different benchmark for those people.
Or a show that is posing as a news show, that it's posing as a show just to bring you just the raw truth, and it's not. And it's just as bad to say something that's incorrect, or you don't say something that you should have said that actually happened, but you don't say it because it was actually good in the other guy's favor. So that, in my opinion, that's just as bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, but then, Noel, I would have to ask you the same question, going back the other way. At what point do we, because if you look at any totalitarian regime in history, they've done a couple of things. One, they've centralized healthcare. Okay, that's always step number one or two. Taking guns is always one or two. And then the third is always the restriction of the press, meaning they always, like, the first step normally is they will require equal time on both sides of the argument, and so then the opinion shows are gone forever. And so at what point by your same question, which, believe me, you and I are on the same side of this thing, but at what point do we restrict the First Amendment too much by making, like, if we're holding journalists to a set of standards, how far is too far before they've lost their freedom of the press?
I mean, you're right. I mean, it's an imperfect science. But you as an American can have your opinion. Okay. It's just, well, I mean, have you looked at the press corps that's in the briefings every day with the president?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, they're making themselves look really bad because everything they're trying to hammer him on is negative. I guess they're kind of burying their own grave. Maybe they do it to themselves. I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm just saying, right. Hey, at what point are they or are they not the press?
And folks, just so you understand, these are conversations, and again, I know this is probably earth-shattering for lots of you watching right now. You're probably scratching your head saying, how can two American human beings having a conversation like this without hating one another? Let me tell you, folks, it's possible to have civilized discourse over the fate of our country, our civil liberties, our constitutional rights, and while Noel and I agree on probably 99% of this stuff, still, like, it's okay to have these. I would urge you to have these conversations. Find a way to get educated, and if that means talking to somebody who agrees or disagrees, I don't care. Talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. Give them the opportunity to discuss with you what their version of America is, and then go and do your research to figure out whether or not that's a good version of America. If that's is it accurate? Is it real? Is it possible? Because at the end of the day, like, we are all Americans, and Noel and I both signed up to defend a country and your right to feel however you want to feel. And
That's
vote
right.
for whoever you want to vote for, and quite frankly, burn whatever flag you want to burn. Now, I'm gonna probably try to snatch it out of your hands, but that's your right. And so
that's exactly right.
At the end of the day, you know, this whole thing is it's crazy. It is unprecedented. There's no doubt about that. So, Noel, I appreciate your time. We are out of time for today.
Thanks for having me. Let's do this again. I enjoy it.
Anytime, my friend. I'm here every day at 3:00. So you just let me know when you're bored, and we'll knock another one out. So,
Okay.
Thank you, Noel. On our way out, Connor, I'm gonna talk for a few minutes while Noel moves on to. I know he's got other stuff going on. So at the end of the day, guys, look, here's the deal. You know, we're so blessed to be Americans. We're so fortunate to be Americans, and quite frankly, this thing is it's going to define years to come. It's going to define our the next century, the next generation, whatever, you fill in the blank. And quite frankly, we have a debt, a responsibility to our ancestors, to our founders, to whomever, to do this the right way and do this the way that this country was founded. And at the end of the day, we are entering into a territory of indifference, maybe. I don't know. We're walking a line that I think is rather dangerous would maybe be the word. I don't know. And so as you walk through the last bit of this, I want you to do so with an education. I want you to do so with a desire to know your rights, your options, your opportunities as business owners. Understand what you can't do, and go and seek your opportunity. Make your own way. Make your own opportunity. Don't hold out for the government. Don't hold out for help. Don't hold out for anything but your own ingenuity and ability to go out and create for yourself what you want to create. So, as always, guys, I very much enjoyed my time with you. Connor and I were talking before this. I've never done a solo show. Maybe the day for that is coming, and I can get on here and I can just rant myself for I know it's hard for you. It's hard for most of you to believe that I can actually talk, by myself to a camera for over 45 minutes. So it wouldn't be hard to do, certainly. Guys, I love you. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you for number 31 sometime tomorrow. In the meantime, stay classy, San Diego. Take it away, Connor.